Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome to this week's edition of Mods Worth Noting. Vehicle Years adds years to the vehicle, so you can see here, like it's showing 2019 for this small tractor that's shown. So the modder's gone ahead and added them with the intent of working through another mod that they have, Through the Years, which says uses the years from this to change how you progress over time in the game. Now I'm going to step outside my normal process of just going to ModHub on this, because I find this so unique and interesting for folks like me who like to look at older vehicles at times. So the Through the Years mod is not available on ModHub. ModHub has some restrictions about usually it has to work across, sometimes across platforms, can't have certain things, or it just doesn't pass the review to get onto ModHub for whatever reason. So the Through the Years mod, I found it here on FS22.com, and as you might imagine, you can see that it is showing older equipment. But what it does is it adds in this base game setting, and you set the year you want to start, and I think you can go back into the 40s, because just a quick scan of things, I've seen time there, and then you can see when you're playing the game, it's showing you the year you're in, which will then coordinate with your store. Since we're in 1961, these are the type of cultivators available. Those are the tractors we saw. Now obviously this harvester is showing 2017. You can see this cultivator's from 1958. The tractor that's highlighted is from 1939. So you can see, you're likely able to go back quite a ways. So between information below in the two mods, between this one and Vehicle Years, because in Vehicle Years he shows you how to add things to a mod that isn't covered. But if you want to know what's covered, there's a link in this Through the Years mod that takes you here to a data list, and you can see there's 4,650 lines, and some things, as you can see, are just headers. So you can see there's wood harvesting, for example, that show up. But you can also see, just looking at this information for wood harvesting, like the earliest wood harvesting implement is in 2008. But if we look at more standard implements, for example, windrowers, you can see there's 3 in 1950, one that comes available in 54, 58, so forth. And probably the one that would be the most interesting to folks is small tractors. So you can see your oldest tractor is 1934, and then it progresses, so here on the screen, we're not getting to anything newer than 1971 with this entire list. So you're going to have a lot of tractor options, but the game also then, in the settings, lets you go ahead and say that you have at least one available for each category, regardless of what time you're at. So the example they give in the non-ModHub area in the Through the Years mod is, then you don't have to wait till 2008 to begin potato harvesting. So they don't have a potato harvester. But they talked about here, if you want to add a year to your own mod, you just need to add the store item specs year value yourself. That, of course, will mean you need to be comfortable going into a mod file and editing it, but usually those type of things are just the text file. I'd suggest experimenting with this if you want to play that way. It would definitely be intriguing, because then in-game, it's enforcing the fact that you're only going to see equipment at the time period you're in, and so you're going to have to work with that tractor from 1960 or the few before that until 4 years later when something else becomes available. And you didn't have medium tractors on that list until 1970, or then you didn't have I think large tractors until 1962 or something. So it's like if you started in 1940, you'd be working with small tractors for 20 years before, or 15 years before you could do anything else and up your tractor. So it definitely enforces things for you that if you like historical gameplay, this really may be a mod you want to take a look at along with the other one, but you will have to venture outside of ModHub to go look for it. And I will give you a warning there. Part of the value of ModHub is A, it's built into the game, and B, it is probably a little safer as far as things not loading and so forth. So you do have to be careful when you go to any of the other sites that you're just not clicking on things willy-nilly, because you might load something on your machine that you don't intend, including potentially a virus and things like that. And the most important thing to point out is for most mods, like you can see there are some up here that don't have it, but for most mods he includes links to where you can find them. So if you want to go ahead, you can, obviously if you start in the 1940s, you just need to find the mods before that. It'll take you a little bit of work, but you can always find the mods that you're looking for and so forth, and that would make it a little bit easier. And he has indicated he'll be updating it periodically, so I assume he's going to once in a while go ahead and update this list, and if you keep the mod up to date, you won't have to necessarily maintain it, but obviously there's no guarantee on how often that will happen. So this one's just a little goofy because it caught my eye. Straw tractor. It's just a tractor made of straw bales. It's a decoration to put on your farm. For those who follow this series, you know that I love productions and new creative ways to do productions, and just offer us chains in the game if we want to pursue them that are just unique. So this sugar production pack by Chenben is one of those. So you'll be able to take sugar beets and sugar cane and produce several things. So you've got a more complex sugar factory, because you're going to get things like molasses and dehydrated beet pulp depending on what your input is and so forth. And so then you'll see you're going to get, sugar and then cane sugar, and then there's a confectionery that lets you make various types of candy and barley sugar and so forth, and then includes a biomass boiler, a market stall to sell things, and then silos for storing things and so forth. So if you're interested in a production chain around sugar, this may be worth a look for you. So for those who do survival series and other things, Bizon's a brand that is usually known well because they have inexpensive harvesters. This is a pack of multiple different harvesters that range in price from $19,000 to $31,000, with just a standard 4.2 meter header that works on any of them. Here's another one, mayonnaise production. So you can use eggs and different kinds of oil and turn that into mayonnaise, and then obviously have a sell station for it. And I'm just loving it because there's just lots of opportunities here. So there is a dessert factory that makes you make caramel cream, strawberry sorbet, chocolate mousse, chocolate fondant, chocolate brownie, and strawberry jam, along with obviously the production sell point, which is always required for you to actually monetize what you're doing in the game. While it's not my style of gameplay, if you're looking for completely unrealistic and just want to plow through things that are more tedious, you've got the Lizard Colossus Harvesters pack, which basically increases the speed and the width and the capacity of harvesters for things like forage and root crops and so forth. So you can see there's a root harvester that can go up to 2.5 million liters of capacity. And then when you're looking, at a cotton harvester, they've got one that can go up to 125 miles per hour. And the working speed is 40 miles an hour, and it's got a working width of 19.6 feet. So again, not my cup of tea, but it's not for me to judge how folks want to play the game, and this is kind of the first combination of things that I've seen that brings these things together. So if you want to take a look at that and be able to harvest field on a 16x map that is 200 acres and full of potatoes, maybe you'll be able to do it in one go with one of these. So it was only a matter of time after the recent expansion before we saw something like this. So the T440 multi-harvester pack allows you to harvest beets, carrots, cotton, parsnips, potatoes, sugar beets, sugar cane. So you still need a unique header, as you can see. There's a 5.4 meter potato, but at least you've got one harvester that can handle it all. And, it's got things including, cotton and sugar cane that might have been much more challenging to harvest other ways. So this mod is a combination flour and feed factory. So you can use corn and soybeans to produce pig feed, and it looks like sorghum flour. Now I'm not sure wheat, oats, barley, cornmeal. So it's unclear from the listing here exactly which ones of those are inputs and what kind of output you get on it, but always a new mod or a new production to check out. So very tiny, rustic looking animal pen for your chickens. Will hold 100 for 8,000. I typically don't do maps, but this one also is not new, but I've not seen it before. I wasn't honestly looking for, I don't usually look at maps, but it caught my eye with its name. This one lets you actually work in an area and work with rice, including floodable fields and so forth. So Italian rice 22. It says it's an update, so there's some changes, but there's no note here about what was included in the update, and it's just a 1.001, so it looks like whatever the update was very, very tiny, and maybe that's why they didn't describe what they did. But if you're looking to work something completely different, I don't know what you could do other than rice on this, because it talks about 87 floodable fields, so I'm assuming this is all rice, because it's reproducing what they say is the rice triangle in Italy. Take a peek. And finally, something unique, taking advantage of the production revamp mod, which you're going to need with this. So you're going to need to be able to produce empty pallets and so forth. You're going to have to handle that. But this is olive plantage, and basically gives you a way to get olives without actually having to harvest them. So you basically, as you can see, you input water in empty pallets, and then you're going to get 200 olives out of here in given cycles and so forth. So if you don't want to use olive harvesters and don't want to use shakers, like I tried on one of my series that certainly were challenging, this might be an easier way for you to bring olives into your gameplay. And that will do it for this week's edition of Mods Worth Noting. I'll see you next time.